All right. Welcome back. I am your host, Tofu Bandit. We will be going over the final episode of the pre-release guide here. Today we will be covering the multicolor cards in the format and their viability in the pre-release format. We'll go through card by card and specifically talk about whether or not they're useful in that format and what they could be utilized for and whether or not you should prioritize them or avoid them when you're building your deck. We will be skipping some of these monocolor cards that have multicolor digivolution costs, just because we went over those during the monocolor episodes. So we're going to start off with Pyildramon. DNAs for 0 if you have a level 4 green and blue. Um, but in this particular format, these cards don't require specific colors, so you can DNA Digivolve any two level 4s together as per the rules of the game. So these cards are really, really good because it's a level 4 you can Digivolve for free. And then when Digivolving, trash the top 3 Digivolution cards of all of your opponent's Digimon, and then when DNA Digivolving 2 of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack until the end of your opponent's turn. This card is insane, only because you can Digivolve DNA Digivolve from any color. If it was color restrictive, you would probably want to avoid this unless you pull the proper support. But because you can DNA Digivolve from any color, trash 3 cards, and then staunch an attack from 2 Digimon is really, really good. This is a card you definitely want to see. It's a rare, so the odds that you see it are kind of limited. But either way, this is still a card. If you see it, you run it because you'll be able to you'll be able to utilize it at any point. It has the inheritable if this Digimon is Imperial Dramon in its name or free in its traits, gain 1 memory. So if you pull the any of the Imperial Dramon stuff or the Grand Kawagamon, you can take advantage of this inheritable. But even without this inheritable, this card is so good. If you see this card, just shove it in your deck. You won't be upset. Next, we have said Imperial Dramon, the Dragon Mode version. Digivolves from 3 from a Pail Dramon or a Dino Beamon, so if you pull either one of those, you can Digivolve into this guy for a reduced cost. When Digivolving, if a blue card's in its Digivolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon, and then if a green card is in the Digivolution cards, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then end of attack, you can Digivolve this Digimon into a card with Imperial Dramon in its name for its Digivolution cost. When this Digimon would Digivolve, by this effect, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. So you technically you could digivolve this card into another Imperial Dramon if you wanted to for a reduced cost of 2. So digivolve it for 2, just with the way that it works. Um, oh no, it doesn't say ignoring devolution requirements. So yeah, this has to go into the Imperial Dramon fighter mode basically. Um, so, yeah, but I mean, either way, like this is an okay card. Like if you can get the reduced Digivolution cost, it's cool. But even if you can't, like you can potentially unsuspend. If your opponent gives you too much memory, you can basically get 2 swings in. It's okay. It's not the best card we've seen, but it's a rare, so you're probably gonna see it, and it's better than a lot of the rare level 6s we've seen. So it's a contender, but it's not the best card by any means. Next up, we have said fighter mode. Digivolves for 2 from an Imperial Dramon Dragon mode. So if you Digivolve this guy with the effective Imperial Dramon, you actually Digivolve into this guy for free at the end of attack. And then when Digivolving, suspend all of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution sources. And then you return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand by returning one Imperial Dramon Dragon mode from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to its owner's hand. Return all of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their owner's deck instead. So it's a when Digivolving bounce, and then if you did activate the end of attack effect or Digivolved on top of the Dragon mode that you get in this set, you can return all of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of their deck. That's a really, really good effect. Because again, just having the ability to suspend all of your opponent's Digimon, like there's so much that you can do with this card. Definitely, it's just a good card. And then all turns, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP for each color in its Digivolution cards. And then while it has 2 or more, it gains Security, Attack plus 1, and Blocker. So this is a 13k blocker at 90% of the time. This is because with the fact that you can digivolve on top of anything and DNA digivolve any 2 combinations of colors, this thing is probably going to be 15 to 17k with security, attack plus 1, and blocker. So that is insane. This card is just this is up there with Quartzmon. Not quite as dominating, but if this card hits the field, your opponent is in for a rough time. That's for sure. So this is definitely another card that I would prioritize if we get it. Definitely one of the better level 6s we've seen. Next up, we have our boy Agumon. Digivolves for 0 from a Koromon. This is important. This is the first one of the black text that we've seen because there is a Koromon in this set, and other than that, it has to Digivolve for 1. So this is a and then, so that is something to definitely keep in mind when you're deck building, that there is a Koromon in this set, so you want to prioritize Digivolving this guy on that Koromon. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon with Greymon in its name and 1 Marcus Damon from among them to your hand, place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then has the inheritable, one of your red or yellow tamers becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. This is very archetype-centric and kind of situational. You'll probably get a decent amount of value out of the on-play because there's so many Greymon-named cards in this set. So it's something you could play and you're probably going to snag something off of the top 4. You're probably not going to hit the Marcus because there's only 1, and you're probably not going to get this suspended effect to pop off very often from the inheritable. But the on-play will probably fetch you a level 4 or level 5 most of the time. So it's a card, again, I would set it off to the, as I've said in a couple episodes, you make 3 piles when you're building a deck. I want to use this because it's very good. I will use this if I have space or I need to fill, and then I will avoid this card like the plague, and I would rather have a, because it's going to be actively detrimental to you actually playing the game. This is a card that would go in that middle pile. Like, you play it if you have enough support or you have the space for it. But there's definitely cards you would probably prioritize being some vanillas or more generics. Next, we have our boy Mike Mon here. 4 to play, Digivolves for 2, 4k DP, and then has the inheritable of your turn once per turn. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon by a battle, gain 1 memory. Very, very, very useful effect, especially in a format like this where it's a lot of like Digimon crashing over top of each other and like attack and counter attack kind of stuff. This is a card you're probably going to get. You'll probably gain like 3 or 4 memory over the course of a game with it if you Digivolve it and raising them push out at the level 5. So this is a good card. This is a really good card. Next up, we have Geogreymon, so a card that is fetchable off of the Agumon we saw, and it Digivolves for 2 onto that Agumon, but this Agumon only because it has to be this Agumon, not the red-black one, because it has to have Dinosaur in its trait, so that's something to remember. When Digivolving, if you don't have a Marcus Damon in play, you can play one. Again, that requires you to pull said Marcus Damon, and then it has the same inheritable as the Agumon, where one of your red or yellow tamers becomes suspended. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. The fact that it's red or yellow, there is cards like Airu, where like you can do some shenanigans with the save mechanics and suspending the tamers, so like you might be able to get these effects to pop off more than I initially thought, but you're probably not going to get this effect to pop off. And to Digivolve for 3 onto a 5000 DP Digimon level 4 is so I would probably set this in. I'll run it if I have to. Not quite that third pile, but it would probably sit at the bottom of the middle pile. Next up, we have the Rise Greymon. Digivolves for 3 from the Geo, the one we just saw, and only that one. Other than that, you're paying 4 for it. When Digivolving, if you have a red or yellow tamer in play, gain a memory, which is good, so you can Digivolve it for 3 that way. And then all turns, when your tamer is deleted, you may place 1 Marcus Damon from your trash to the top of your security stack face down, and then it has the inheritable all turns when your tamer is deleted, place 1 Marcus Tamer from your trash to the top of his security stack face down. So this plays into the Marcus, which we'll get to in a little bit. His whole like Marcus is gonna run your fade by himself. But since there's a decent amount of yellow and red tamers, you could probably play this for 3. But I just like the fact that both of these effects require you to play or have a tamer that you may or may not get. This is probably like bottom of the barrel as far as utilizing the card itself in a pre-release format, because it's just going to be basically a 7k vanilla that you're more likely than not going to be Digivolving for 4. And as we saw in the last episode, there's Digimon like Footmon that Digivolve for 2 and have 2000 more DP. So I would probably set this in the third one, like avoid like the plague, unless there's the very specific niche scenario where you pull 3 Marcus. Next up, we have our level 6 Shine Greymon. Digivolves for 3 from the Rise Greymon. Other than that, you're paying 4 for it. And then when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon and all of their security Digimon get minus 3000 DP for each red and yellow tamer you have in play. And then all of your Marcus Damon gain 3000 DP and security attack +1. This kind of falls into the same category as the Rise Greymon. All of its effects require tamer setup, and tamers are more are more difficult to come by, being all uncommon and rare. And then having them to be specifically red or yellow limits the possibility of them even more. And then the your turn Marcus Damon, that's one specific card. So this is another level 6 that I would probably try to avoid, which sucks that it's a super rare, but apparently they're putting a lot of like archetype specific cards that are really really bad in a pre-release format, but are are insanely good in their archetype. Like this card in its archetype would be insane, but in a pre-release format, this is basically just a 12k beater vanilla that you paid 4 to Digivolve for, and as we saw, there's better Digimon that do that, including like this Grand Kawagamon that is literally a rare. So you're more likely to see this card, and it's just better because you'll Digivolve for 3 and suspend a Digimon. Next up, because we will skip these because we covered them in our green video, is Dino Beamon. Same thing, DNA Digivolve from any color in this format, and then when DNA Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then this Digimon gains plus 3000 DP until the end of the turn. Then this Digimon can attack your opponent's Digimon. So you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So, and then this Digimon becomes an 11k beater. It can then attack your opponent's Digimon. So you're swinging over anything that's not an that's 11k or lower. You're deleting or trading with, and it's a can, so it doesn't have to. So you don't have to swing over your opponent's Digimon if you don't want to. And it's just can attack your opponent's Digimon, and since it doesn't specify suspended or unsuspended, you can just attack whatever you want. So you can suspend one for another Digimon you have on board to swing over, and then swing over something else if you wanted to. Your turn, once per turn, when your Digimon with Imperial Dramon in its name or free in its traits deletes one of your opponent's Digimon by battle, trash top card of your opponent's security attack. So again, if you go this guy into either the Grand Kawagamon or the Imperial Dramon, you're trashing security. And you pair that with Spiking Strike. If you pulled enough support to run the Spiking Strike, you're trashing 2 security and deleting Digimon. So that's insane. Insane. This card and Paildramon and Dino Beamon and Omni Shoutmon are the 3 best level 5s in this format. And if you pull any of those, thank your stars. Next up, we will be covering Agumon. Digivolves from 0 for Koromon, but other than that, Digivolves for 1, very similar to the other Agumon. So keep in mind that the yellow Koromon that we pulled is the only thing that can play Digivolve this for 0. And then on play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Greymon or Omnimon in its name, and 1 card with Tai Kamiya in its name among them to your hand, and the rest of the bottom of the deck. This is pretty much falls into the same category as the last Agumon as well. Like there's a lot of Greymons in this set, so you'll probably catch something on the Greymon text, but there's only 1 tie and there's no Omnimon. So keep that in mind. This does have a much easier to hit inheritable though of if this while this Digimon has Greymon in its name, or Omnimon gets 1000 TP and that's all turns. And like I said, since there's a lot of Greymon, you can make cards that are kind of bad way better. So this is a card that like I would run this over this, but they're both kind of equally rough because you don't really want to digivolve them in raising. We have Greymon, which can digivolve for 2 over a Koromon, or an Agumon, which is either one, unlike the Geo Greymon. And then if you don't have a card with tie, play tie. And then it has the same inheritable as the Agumon, where it gets plus 1000 DP if it has Greymon or Omnimon in its name. Really good. Next we have Metal Greymon, Digivolves for 3 if the name contains Greymon. So Geo Greymon or Greymon can Digivolve into this for 3. Other than that, he's going to cost you 4. He has Raid, which allows you to redirect attacks. And then all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon's attack target is switched, you may play 1 black or red tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost, which is any of the black or red tamers in this set. So you can play those for free, including if you like pulled a bunch of like Agumon and Greymon support, including the Shine Greymon, you can play the Marcus Damon for free with this card as well. It also gives all of your Greymon and Omnimon piercing. So if you have this card, it can make a card that's kind of bad, like Shine Greymon. Like Shine Greymon's worse in this format. It can make it good because then it's a Digimon that's swinging 12k with piercing, so you can swing over stuff and get value out of it that way. So definitely a good card, a card you want to see. Next up, we have the Red Black SR War Greymon. Digivolves for 3 if the Digimon contains Metal Greymon, which is only this guy, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, it's going to run you 4. He has Raid, and then when Digivolving, he gets plus 3,000 DP and Reboot until the end of your opponent's turn. So he's a 15k unsuspended Digimon on your opponent's turn. Um, and then if you've done any of the shenanigans where you like shove sources underneath via save, you could potentially give him. Well, no, he would gain blocker. He doesn't have save in his text, but he's basically you're just putting out a 15k unsuspended Digimon on your opponent's turn. Um, but if they give you 4 memory, you can Digivolve it and you're swinging 15 at your opponent's Digimon. And then all turns once per turn when this Digimon's attack target is switched, unsuspend this Digimon. So you swing, delete one of their Digimon when you swing, and then unsuspend, and then swing and delete a security, and then reboot on their turn. So this is an insanely good card, just because it's going to give you two swings every turn. Um, once to delete a Digimon and once to check a security, unless your opponent doesn't play anything, in which case they're just actively losing the game because they're not putting stuff on the board. So this is a card you definitely want to see. If you pull this, you're having a good time. It's not quite as busted as like Imperial Dramon Fighter Mode or Quartzmon, but I would put it in the same vein as like Grand Kawagamon, just because yeah, it becomes a 15k. It can redirect attacks. It can delete stuff. So I would put it above Grand Kawagamon, but definitely a really good Digimon. Next up, we have Chaos Dramon X Antibody. Digivolves for 2 over a Machine Dramon or Chaos Dramon, neither of which are on this set, so it does not do that. Start of your main phase, place 1 Digimon with a Cyborg or Machine and its traits from your trash at the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. And then all turns, this Digimon gains all effects of Machine Dramon and Chaos Dramon in this Digimon's Digivolution sources. And then all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon would be deleted, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So, eh. There's not a ton of cyborgs or machines in this set. So like you could use this and like shove a Metal Greymon underneath to give it piercing, but it's not. It doesn't even get piercing because yeah, it doesn't have Greymon or Omnimon. So yeah, like you're not gonna get any benefit out of this in like this format. So this is a really bad card in this format. In a Machine Dramon deck, I could see how this would be really good, but in this format, it's Digivolve for 5 for a 13k that does nothing except for the first time it gets deleted because there's not going to be a way to save it. You basically take a security with you, which I guess could be okay, but there's just better level 6s. Next up, we have Wisemon. On play and when Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 purple or black Digimon from among them to your hand. Return the remaining cards to the top or bottom of your deck in any order, and then it gives the inheritable blocker. So this is a card that you could shove underneath your black or the War Greymon to give it blocker. But yeah, just having this is a really good effect. Digivolving for 4 sucks, but being able to reveal 3, look at them, add 1 black or purple. So any of the dual colors, any of the blacks, any of the purples, you can add one of those to your hand. Then if you are like, these cards are bad, you can put them on the bottom, or if you don't want to lose them, you can just leave them on top. This is a really good card. Um, is it the best level 5? No, but it is definitely a level 5 you're not upset to pull. Next up, we have Jet Mervamon. With Jet Mervamon, it has Armor Purge, which is filthy, because you can prevent a deletion. And then on play and when Digivolving, you place 1 Digimon card with Crossheart in its traits from your hand or from under your Tamer to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. Then if this Digimon has Sparrowmon as Digivolution cards, all of your Digimon gain blocker and can't be returned to the hand or deck till the end of your opponent's turn. And then all turns once per turn, when another one of your Digimon is deleted, unsuspend this Digimon. There is no Mervamon or Sparrowmon in this set, so you can't Digicross. So I mean, there's a few Digimon with Crossheart in their traits that you could shove underneath there, but it's not going to be Sparrowmon, so you're not going to gain blocker. So it's basically like it's a 13k you Digivolve on top of level 6 for 2 to give Armor Purge, or a level 5 for 5 to give. It's basically just pay insert mana cost here to give a level of protection to one of your Digimon. That's all this is, which isn't bad. It is not bad by any means. Like, this is a free swing every turn until it dies, which is awesome. So if you pull it, cool, and it's a uncommon, so you're gonna see it. So this is a really good uncommon to see. Next up, we have Marcus Damon. Start of your main phase. You have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon on its name. By paying 1 memory, this tamer is also treated as a Digimon with 3000 DP, and it cannot Digivolve for the turn. Playing into the Shine Greymon and all of these guys who have the inheritable when one of your red or yellow tamers becomes suspended do stuff. And then your turn, when this Digimon becomes suspended, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a yellow card with Greymon in its name from your hand without paying its memory cost. So if you get this guy or multiple copies of this guy, feel free to run all the Shine support you can. If not, this guy is a four cost that might be that like if you pull enough Greymon support, might be able to like check a security every now and then. Next up, we have Shine Blast. You may play one Marcus Damon from your hand without paying its memory cost. Then three of your opponent's Digimon get minus 3,000 DP for the turn for each red and yellow Digimon tamer you haven't played. This is really good in Shine. This is awful in a limited format like pre-release. One, you have to have a red and a yellow prior to playing the Marcus to be able to activate this card. And then on top of that, you have to have multiple tamers to be able to trigger the effects. So if again, like this card requires so much that a good 60% of the time you see this card, it's going to be a brick. So I would generally just any card that can be a brick like that, I would generally avoid. Super Eradication Cannon. While you have a level 6 Digimon with Machine in its traits in play, you may use this card without meeting its color requirements. Okay. Main, choose one of your Digimon with Cyborg or Machine in its traits, delete that Digimon, and one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to the chosen Digimon's DP. Okay, so you play this, you delete your Chaos Dramon, and then you delete a Digimon and you trash the security. That's lame. Next up, we are to the first of the secret rares, which is our boy Darkness Bagramon. Has Digicross -3 for Bagramon and Dark Knightmon, so you can play it for 6 less. So 10 is the minimum you're playing this guy for. On play and when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Then you may place up to 5 Digimon cards of Bagra Army and their traits from your trash to the bottom of this card's Digivolution cards. That's kind of neat. It can Digivolve over a level 5 for 9. It doesn't have to be, it can be any color, remember that. So any level 5 can Digivolve into this guy for 9. And then you can shove 5 more cards into his sources. And then your opponent's turn, one of your opponent's Digimon attacks or Digivolves by trashing 5 cards from this card's Digivolution cards. Return all tamers to their owner's hands. That's an okay effect, but in a limited format like this, it's probably not going to be the best. So this is basically just a 15k beater. That's basically it. Oh, and you delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So you could basically pay 9, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Yeah, because Bagramon and Dark Knightmon are not in this set, so you're not going to be able to play those for 10. So you either play it for 16, which you're not. If you do, I'm astounded. Or Digivolve it for 6, or Digivolve it for a 9 on a 5. Delete a Digimon and then start beating people's legs with a 5k or a 15k beater. That he basically becomes vanilla after he's summoned. And then we have this guy, Super Ultra Mega Gundam X7. When this card would be played by placing one of your Shoutmon in play in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you may reduce the play cost by 1 and place cards from your trash as Digivolution cards for a Digicross. On play, return the Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom. Return the Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of the deck in any order, and return that Digimon to the bottom of the deck. Okay. Return all of your opponent's options. All of your opponent's options, security effects do not activate. So he's got the War Greymon the BT-1 War Greymon effect. He has Digicross -1 for an infinite number of cards with different card numbers, with Cross Hearts and Blue Flare in their traits. That's going to be kind of hard to reach in this particular limited format, but I don't think it really matters. Like, you play this card. If you play this card for your opponent gives you 5. Let me get this news out of the way. Go away. If you play this card for 5, or if you have a Shoutmon, because there's Shoutmon, there is plenty of Shoutmon. There's 2 Shoutmons, King version and regular. So you have regular version sitting out. You reduce the cost by 1, bare minimum, right there. So you use that for a Digicross. Then anything that has died during the game that has Cross Hearts in its traits, you just start shoving those bad boys in there. And I mean, any cost reduction you get is fine, because that is a 17k beater that bounces a Digimon, and it dodges protection. This gets around War Greymon protection. So like in future formats, when this card comes out, and is like, oh man, how do we get around the protection of the Greymon X and the Greymon X stacks, and stuff like that. Like they can't trash because it's a then effect. So it's do this and this. So like they can't prevent that because the sources have been bot decked. So and it's the same with X antibody. Like it gets around like X antibody not being able to be trashed because you're not trashing it. You're sending it to the bottom of the deck. So this card is insane for getting around protection, and it's bot decking whatever you want. So you just hard slam this bad boy for 15. Give your opponent 10. Bot deck their best card. Now you have a 17k beater that you can there's literally nothing in security that's stopping you. So you just free swing and free farm. This card and Quartz Bond are like if they hit the board, your opponent is probably going to lose the game. Very similar to Death Exmon and BT-9. When Death Exmon hit the board, they just died. This is a very, very similar situation, especially given the very, very limited methods of removal, most of which involving suspending a Digimon and swinging over it. So yeah, like unless your opponent has like the nuts Marcus Damon like poop ton of tamers and they shining force you and then swing over you, like you're free to swing and just beat legs. So this is, but it's a secret rare, so the odds that you see it are very limited. But if you do, you hard slam the bad boy as soon as you can, and you'll probably win. And that covers all of the multicolors. Pretty much all of the multicolor cards are insane, minus a handful. Some have niche situations and are generically useful. Some are absolute dog water. Mainly this Chaos Dramon and these two options. And Darkness Bogramon is probably up there too with like being pretty bad in this particular format because it's just like delete and 15. Whereas this one's delete 17 and not activate options. So if you had to pick between two secrets to pull, it'd definitely be this one. But other than that, that has been it. And then once we get closer to the set, I will also be doing a set analysis for the cards as far as their viability in the meta, not just a pre-release format. I have been your host, Tofu Bandit. Thank you for stopping in, and have a good day.